Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. My name is Jason. I'm your host for today's show. And this is going to be my 100th episode, which I'm recording live on LinkedIn audio. And I'm currently doing this series for the past 1.5 years called as the Dark Side of Entrepreneurship. The aim of my show is to educate entrepreneurs about business, share ideas, recommend strategies, help them make fucking money, and help them to deal with adversities while you run your business. And I do this by interviewing high-level business executives who are willing to share their professional and personal experience with my listeners. My podcast, just in case if you're new, is been heard over 23 countries. It currently ranks on Spotify at the top 30% most followed business podcast. It also ranks on Spotify, saying it's on the top 5% most shared podcasts on social media. Additionally, my podcast has been recently been awarded as the winner of the Anchor Spotlight Awards by Spotify in Jan of 2023, recognizing its excellence and contribution in the podcasting industry. I want to make a few announcements before we actually start our show, and the announcement is the top 10 episodes on my show. Because I finished 100, I wanted to give a shout out to those individuals who are ranking on the very top. So the very first individual who actually ranked number one, the most heard podcast episode, is by Peggy Van Allen. She spoke about color. Season 3, episode 24. Please check that out. Second, number 2 is Becca Brazil, the Brazilian pop singer. She was on my podcast on season 3, episode 16. She spoke about PR and media relations. Fantastic episode. I have Dr. Sarah Glover, which is on number 3, season 3, episode 22. Claudia Esquire, a good friend of mine, she spoke about how to make a movie. She's ranking on number 4. Dr. Amanda Fu Rayland, who is a consistent sponsor on my show, she's ranking on number 5th. And Heather, you would not believe, number 6 goes to Phyllis, Gato Country brand mother, who was on my show. We had a phenomenal episode. She's ranking on number 6. Season 4, episode 3. Then we have Joshua Sadi. He spoke about philanthropy, season 3, episode 21. Tom Dusenberry, who is the ex-CEO of Hasbro, he spoke about the business of games. He's ranking on number 8. Then we have number 9, Frankie, and the number 10, Ainsley Murphy. All these guests, I want to personally thank all of them. Just in case if you want to check out these episodes, guys, you can DM me personally, and I would be happy to share those links with you. Now, the next thing which I want to actually highlight is about today's show. Today's topic is specifically focusing on the motion design industry, and we will be speaking about how AI is reshaping the creative industry, specific focus to motion design. Now, this event is actually suitable for artists, designers, filmmakers, any sort of creative professionals, technologists, anybody curious about the transformative impact of AI in the on the creative process. If you hear background noise, guys, please ignore. That's just how Mumbai is sometimes during the evening. So thank you so much, Heather, for giving me the opportunity to interview you and learn about AI and what's happening around the world, especially in terms of motion design. So just in case if you're wondering who Heather is, Heather Crank is an award-winning visual artist and designer. She also makes a lot of AI art. If you check out her Instagram page, I'm going to tell you, it's freaking dope. Please check it out. Please give her a follow. She makes dope content, and I really like how she visually does all this thing. She is equally comfortable and successful in the world of fine arts and business. Her film has been showcased at Guggenheim. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Heather. Guggenheim, right? Supernova.
It's close.
Close. I'm sorry. How do you pronounce that? What's the right way?
It's the Guggenheim.
Guggenheim. Okay. Then after that, Supernova Animation Festival, Meow Wolf, Lights Denver and RESFest, and her clients, including her firms in tech, motion picture, music, educational space. Highly versatile and skilled, her specialties include motion design, graphic design, and AI art. Heather holds a BFA in graphic design from the California College of Arts and is the recipient of the Adobe Achievement Award as well as the Silver IDA. Now, Heather, for the benefit of the audience, would you mind helping us through what is the Silver IDA Award exactly?
Oh, sorry about that. So the Silver IDA Award, this was an award for a motion graphics piece I did for a company called Craftsy. And it's basically it's like any award where you apply and there are a lot of people, and I won an award specific for designers and people in the motion industry.
That is super cool. Congratulations on that, Heather. And I think you really deserve it. I have actually checked out her website. I've also gone through her case studies on her website. The name of your company, quite frankly, Heather, is too difficult to pronounce. I still struggle.
Oh,
But
it's Cremonti. It's the combination of my last name and my husband's last name.
I know. I did hear that part when you were speaking to Phyllis on that interview. So yeah, but it's a really cool name. But nevertheless, I wanted to actually give a shout out to Izzy. I saw her in the audience. I don't see her now, but Izzy's the one, Isabel, who recommended me to you based on our chat on Instagram. So Izzy, high five to you. Thank you so much. I'm really blown away with Heather, and I think we're gonna have a spectacular conversation. So let's actually move on. Let's actually ask the right questions. And then what I really want to ask, and I think many people have the same question in mind: will AI enhance or replace human creativity in the field of motion design? And what would be your thoughts on that?
So, no, I don't think it will replace creativity. I do think we will be AI assisted. Um, the reason I think it won't replace it is because AI isn't creative. Um, Creativity involves a certain type of mental processing, and AI does not do that. It's an algorithm and it's robotic, and it does not possess certain types of intuition, reasoning, and empathy. So, no, it's not going to replace creativity at all.
Yeah.
Um, Let me,
Go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead. Now, on the article which you had sent me over email, you mentioned something specifically happening in Japan. Would you mind highlighting that?
So what's happening right now? So in Japan, they've created their own version of copyright around AI. The EU also is developing its own type of copyright. Um, so in Japan, for example, if you it is okay to use AI, but if you reference or copy certain artists, it's completely illegal. There is a little bit of a disparity there because AI learns from certain artists, which is why it can't be copyrighted and why there are all these issues. So, in the future and going forward, I think people are going to how can I put this? Each region is going to set its own set of rules and laws around this. The problem being it's going to be different everywhere. So, our government really, the governments of the world need to get it together and start creating some regulations that are consistent. Um, because if you're an artist and you're working in AI and you end up getting sued from some kind of company in Japan or in the UK and you have no idea, it's going to make the use of AI really difficult.
I,
Did
I
I
t-
answer your question?
Yes, you did answer. Yeah, you did answer my question. So do not worry, people, creative people. You are not gonna get replaced. But I would definitely recommend to start taking advantage of AI to make your process more efficient or come up with something cool. Whatever, just use it to the best of your ability. Like for an example, Chat GPT is out there. Like I use it heavily for my podcasting. It really helps me to make my workflow a lot more easier than using my mental abilities for everything. So yeah, and I like what you said is that AI is not really creative because it does not do the same mental processing or the abilities which possess. So it definitely makes sense. So take this out of the equation that AI is going to replace jobs and those kind of things. At the end of the day, you are those creative professionals, so make the very best out of it. So my next question, Heather, to you. All right. Could you give me some specific examples of how AI has revolutionized graphic design in motion design projects?
Yes. The main innovation right now is speed. Um, I can create concepts, style frames, prototypes that would normally take, well, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours. I can do it now in minutes. So there's a really big difference between working on client work and being able to knock it out in 2 hours versus 2 days. Um, Also, AI and ChatGPT work really well together. So, um, for example, in After Effects, if you're in the motion design industry, um, you can create expressions or write expressions in ChatGPT that you can then bring into After Effects. So you're going to see massive innovation. There is a dark side to this, of course, this level of speed and ability to create perfect images in seconds. Um, Part of that is, I hate to say this, but if you're in production, pivot now, right now. Do not wait. The one area where I do see job losses occurring, and I would suggest in the next 6 months, is in production, because those processes will be automated by AI because of the speed and the efficacy of the way the AI generates imagery.
All right, so production guys, you heard it, 6 months. Buckle up and pivot as soon as possible. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I like the fact that so After Effects is actually an application by Adobe, like a software like Illustrator, Photoshop, where we motion designers. I am not heavily into motion design. I do identities. I'm really good at making identities. But it's a part, like I use it sometimes, so I understand where you're coming from. Would you mind helping people understand what do you mean by expression, so that people who may not be creative, they know what you're trying to say?
Sure. So, if you're creating an animation, and let's say you would like a particular action to repeat over and over, I'll give you an example. Like, if you have a bouncing ball, and you'd like that bouncing ball, the way it bounces, to stay consistent throughout the entire animation, you can write code that is has kind of randomness and naturalness already. Within the code itself, and apply it to the animation, and then you do not have to actually go through and animate frame by frame throughout the entire piece. So it's sort of a shortcut, but it also creates a very natural, beautiful kind of movement. So it's code, basically.
Awesome, I love that expression. Would you mind giving us a little more examples on how AI and Chat GPT would work together? Could you give me another example of how you might be using it currently on motion design projects?
Oh, sure. I love to work in Midjourney. I'm a big Midjourney fan. Um, I love Firefly, Adobe's Firefly too, which, oh my God, has Adobe is on fire right now. They are coming out with so many amazing things. Um, but it's still in the beta form. So at the moment, I'm working a lot in Midjourney, and I use it to prototype and create style frames and storyboards and comps for my clients. Um, and I'm able to do it at this speed that we go back and forth very, very quickly. And it's opening a lot of space for me to be able to create deeper and more creative work. How I use ChatGPT with Midjourney is, if I'm using certain prompts, and if you haven't um, used Midjourney yet, it is a text to image generator. So you write text and it pulls up certain imagery, and you can adjust the way that you use your language to create certain outcomes. So let's say I write prompts in Midjourney and I'm not getting the exact outcome that I want. I can take those words, bring them into Chat GPT, and I could say, "Hey, Chat GPT, give me a better prompt." And it will rewrite the prompt for me. Or if I'm not sure what prompt I should use, I can ask Chat GPT to generate prompts for me that I can then take over to Midjourney and use. So they're both language-based AIs, so they play really well together.
All right. So my question is, in a little more about Mid Journey. Would you mind helping the audience understand what exactly is Mid Journey offering to a business owner? Like, why should I get a hold of a designer who can make something out of Mid Journey, and how it would benefit the business owner? Would you mind helping me understand and helping the audience understand that?
Sure, this is this is kind of a double-edged sword for creative people. Um, it is faster and cheaper. You can engage with a much smaller studio. For example, I have a studio that goes between 2 and 4 people. Using Midjourney allows me to create work at the speed and depth of like a team of 10. So this will, for a business owner, save them a lot of money. And I think cost, um, the cost analysis of using a designer who is involved with AI and Midjourney versus hiring a big studio is going to be really advantageous. So that's going to be the big driver, I think, is speed and saving money for sure. Also, if you're a business owner and you don't have the money to be able to hire out a designer, forgive me for saying this, designers out there, you can use Midjourney yourself to create your own content. So if you're posting on LinkedIn, for example, and you would like to create an image that is specific and custom to what's in your head, it will allow you to do the creative work. This is also why some designers really hate AI and are afraid of being replaced. So I'll just leave that there.
I know audience who are listening, you may have a lot to process, and if you have questions, please hold on to those questions. When we open the floor for Q&A, please, you're welcome to come up and ask Heather those questions and clarify your doubts. If you are patiently listening, and if you're enjoying the conversation so far, there is a share button right at the bottom. If you're using a mobile phone, please share the space and welcome your friends, peers, whoever you feel can benefit from this conversation. My next question to you, Heather, is that in what ways do you think AI generated content has challenged the notion of authenticity in the motion design industry?
So I think partly it's that right now anybody who has learned Midjourney can create quotes, art. Um, and we have, a lot of us have trained, myself, over 10 years in the creative industries to be able to have to give up some of that ownership and know that anybody now can create visual imagery that's stunning and slick and beautiful um, is a little difficult. And with the authenticity part, AI trained on the web. It trained on over, I think it was over 100 million images. So there is some concern because some of the images it trained on were copyrighted, which I know we're going to get into later. Um, so who's creating the work? And how valuable is the work that's being created? And how do we feel about our creative process? And what is actual creativity? These are all questions around authenticity and art and motion design in the creative industry that is coming up right now. And I think a lot of artists feel like they're being given the short end of the stick. Um, and I just have to say, I do not agree with the way AI was trained on copyrighted images. I think that's a horrible thing. But at this point, we are way beyond that conversation. What is coming into the world right now and what's happening, I just would let that go. Move on, move on, move on.
Well, I agree, with what you're saying. But if you think about it, authenticity is kind of a multifaceted concept because AI can mimic existing styles, right? It may lack the ability to genuinely express any sort of personal experience, emotions, or subjective perspectives. So authenticity is kind of rooted and it has its own uniqueness and authenticity to an artist's voice or their ability to convey meaningful narratives and emotional connection they want to establish with their audience. So I still feel as long as the artist is involved in the process and not completely automated, I think that authenticity would still exist, right?
I do. And I also think that, let me just read you a quick list of here are some things that AI cannot do that humans do really well. And I think this is where we need to, as artists, put our focus. AI does not have the ability to use common sense reasoning, it just can't do that. It also does not understand abstract concepts. And this is an area where motion designers, graphic designers really excel. Um, AI is not creative and it does not have emotions or consciousness. It's robotic. AI also cannot master tasks involving complex, unstructured data. Now, that's an area too where I don't know about other people in the audience, but I do a lot of infographics and I work with a lot of unstructured data. Also, tasks requiring empathy, compassion, and understanding context, AI does not have the ability to do it. It also cannot use experience or intuition. And in general, I think AI lacks the ability to think creatively and come up with original ideas that, as you were saying, resonate with human emotion and experiences. So that means AI cannot speak to a brand's unique character, and that's where we come in. So I think if the people who are hearing this who are afraid of job loss turn their focus into those facets of thinking, reasoning, and development, personal development, I think you'll be fine. You're just going to have an AI assistant.
So true, so true. I love the part which you said AI does not have common sense. That really stood out for me. So that was really cool. AI does not have common sense, okay? And AI is not creative. I feel that, there's a lot of strengths which AI has, like you said. It's important that, as artists, as designers, motion designers, or creative professionals, you stay true to your artistic vision or the way you express things, and you can continue to create authentic and engaging design that resonate with the audience in profound ways. My next question to you, Heather, is there any particular skills or knowledge areas that a motion designer should focus on to adapt to the changes brought about by AI?
Yes, for sure. You're going to need all the skills you've always had. You're going to need an understanding of design, your basic understanding of art. And my God, if you took endless art history classes like me, now is your time to shine. Finally. Um, Midjourney uses and references all kinds of art references. And wherever your specific skill set, for example, if you're in motion design like me, when I'm prompting Midjourney, I use all of the same language I would use as an art director when I would speak to people who are working with me about what I would like to see. I use render engines, I use lighting, I use compositional cues. So all of that is still necessary. You need to be a designer, you need to understand design, you need to be able to speak the language of design. That's going to be very important. I would also recommend following newsletters because the AI revolution right now, the updates, it's like a fire hose. And my God, I just can't keep up. So the way I have stayed on top of everything is to sign up for some newsletters and to follow people whose mission it is to just make those announcements. And one of the newsletters that I absolutely love, I'm going to butcher this name, so forgive me. I'm just going to spell it. His name is Nenjek, Nejc, Susek, Susec. fantastic newsletter on AI. So I would recommend making sure you keep up with the updates and also niche down into the specific areas of AI you want to focus on. It's coming out across all mediums and it can be totally overwhelming. So pick your lane, pick your maybe two or three things, find out who's posting the updates and just stay on top of it and get involved with the process. And the last thing I would say is make sure you're focusing on creativity because as production becomes more and more automated, it's going to be our thinking. It's going to be the way we express ourselves. It's going to be our humanness that, in a sea of sameness, as all the images start to look the same and fatigue sets in, your unique voice, your unique presence is what's going to sell your product and it's going to put you kind of above the noise. So that would be my recommendation.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. And just in case, guys, if you did not catch the Firehose newsletter person's name, I was able to instantly Google this. Okay, and I have the name listed under the event notes. So okay, if you want to check out the event notes, click on the three dots on the top, view event details, and you should be able to find it under any of my comments, just for easy access. So that was interesting information for me also, Heather. I appreciate you sharing that. Let me ask you my next question. My next question is about the potential risk and challenges associated with relying heavily on AI in the motion design industry.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Um, so, of course, job loss. If you work in production, visual effects, I would start thinking about integrating AI into your workflow. And as you have more time that opens up, because so much will be automated, specifically if you work in the movie industry, there's going to be a lot of disruption. Um, think about what else you could do with that time, how else you could be creative, what else you could build. I think another risk is there's going to be a lot of visual fatigue. A lot of images right now coming out of AI kind of have this look, and I can see it a mile away. And honestly, I don't mean to slam anybody, but there are only so many robots and zombies I can handle. And I know it's cool and I know it's amazing, but holy moly, there's a lot. Um, so I think visual fatigue, monotony, and not being able to have your voice heard or have your brand stand out or be able to not be lost in a sea of sameness, those are going to be some really big risks.
I appreciate you sharing that. Job loss, disruption, visual fatigue, and hopefully, eventually AI would train itself to not have the AI feel to that imagery. Hopefully, that changes. Less zombies. I appreciate you sharing that,
Yeah.
Heather. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I have a lot of subscriptions, and it does offer nowadays. Many subscriptions, graphic assets. Things which most designers take advantage of. They have a specific section which states that AI generated images. And as you said, I completely understand. It has that look and feel to it. Totally with you. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that. All right. So now my next question is: are there any cultural or societal implications of AI-generated motion design content, particularly in the terms representation and diversity?
Oh, this is a really big topic. Um, yes, of course, there are huge societal implications. Um, Copyright is a big one. Artists who feel like their work is being directly copied is another one. And I would just like to say, don't do that. Just don't be a jerk. Don't copy other people's work. If you're in AI and you would like to be inspired by or reference, I'm using air quotes here, like an artist, I am influenced by this person, great. But do not directly copy. I mean, that's been an issue forever anyway, but it's easier now. Um, and nobody likes that. So there are big, big, big challenges in the copyright realm, but also, okay, there is this amazing video which I shared with Jason. It's called Emergency Episode Ex Google Officer Finally Speaks Out to the Dangers of AI. And his name is Mo Gawat. It's a really clickbaity title. It's not a doomer video, but it's very thoughtful and thorough about the societal implications that are coming up. Excuse me. I recommend everybody watch it, but watch it all the way through, because if you stop halfway, that's the scary part of this video, and you might have some kind of existential crisis. So watch it all the way through, because the positive aspects to AI and the possibility of a, they call it a golden age for creativity, is toward the end. So make sure you watch it. But there are huge implications. It's going to change everything. It's going to change how we relate to each other. It's going to change our job structure. It's going to change how we work. It's going to change why we work. China and the United States are the leading countries in the AI race itself, which I'm sure you can figure out why that's an issue. Um, and there is very little regulation right now, and we desperately need regulation for this, because people are not all black and white. You have a spectrum of people, and everybody is going to want to jump into this to make money for different reasons. And it's not all good and it's not all bad, and sometimes it's a little good or it's a little bad. But it's hugely powerful. So we need to be very, very careful how this integrates into society, because it is so incredibly disruptive. In fact, AI has the IQ right now somewhere around Einstein. And in the next few months, it's predicted to 10x that IQ level. So it's way beyond anything any of us can imagine, or even how something at that level of intelligence would perceive our world, our processes, or how it would integrate with society. So there are massive implications. And I'm not an expert, but I've been kind of watching and absorbing information. And I recommend to everybody that you educate yourself. And the base level is, making money in your business and making sure that you are in a position to not lose your job. And then the next layer of that is kind of how we move forward as a society, and what part do you want to play in the next 3 to 4 years, because this will fully integrate. I'm going to predict 2 to 3 years. It's going to be incredibly fast. Any kind of change that happens that quickly and that with that much disruption has the potential to cause all kinds of problems in the short term, even if, say, 5 years down the line, our world is in a much better place. But there will be a transition period. So I know for myself in motion design, there are massive layoffs happening right now due to the overexpansion that happened during the pandemic. My work went from so busy I could barely handle it to nothing. And I know I'm not alone here. I was just talking to another friend who got laid off a couple days ago. This is part of that transition phase. Um, and it already was difficult with the overexpansion. And now you throw AI into the mix. So we are kind of primed for a little bit of a rocky road for the next year. In the best way, I feel like, at least for me, to protect yourself and to protect myself, is to just be armed with as much knowledge as possible, and to make sure you understand what is actually happening. I think people are just slowly waking up to how fast this is going to change. And I'm here to tell you, as a motion designer, that the industry is going to kind of turn upside down for a little bit. But hang on, we'll come out of it, and I think we'll be better for it. But it might be a little rough.
I appreciate you sharing this with people and educating them what's gonna happen ahead and what people need to do to stay in the game. My heart goes out to your friend who got laid off. I'm really sorry to hear that. I hope that individual does find another opportunity or create some sort of opportunity which help him or her to have a living, to have the food he needs to survive. And my heart goes out to all the other creative professionals who are struggling. Please take Heather's advice. Get updated with technology, and hopefully, things would be easy. And we'll see what happens. Heather, do you think we also as human beings are supposed to be blamed, because it's kind of learning because you're inputting all this shit, right? So if you stop inputting all this stuff, do you think there's a possibility that it may not become the 10x that smart, like?
No, I think we're way past that. It's already it's been happening, the movie industry has been using some of this technology since 2018, and they have used it to be able to pinpoint, how to market people, what areas of the movie are the most interesting, and then what merchandise will sell. And it's been in the background. We've got facial recognition, all these things that have kind of been on the periphery that nobody really probably thought too much about, has been slowly integrating in all these facets of our life, and now it's about to accelerate. So I I don't think the genie's out of the bottle. I don't think we're going back, but we can slow it down so we can get a handle on it and begin to have a conversation about who are we in this, and what's going to happen to the creative industry, and as a motion designer, what does that look like in the next 5 years? What happens to the movie industry? So yeah, I there's sort of like a how would you say it, like a scarcity mindset that it's like a race, if I don't do it, then this other guy over here is going to do it, and then he'll get all the money, and I won't have the money, without thinking about the broader repercussions of what that means for all the people that have to live in this world that's being created. So, yeah, I think it's out of our hands to a certain degree, but we can. One thing we can do is prepare for it, educate ourselves, and talk to your representatives about, you know, getting some kind of guardrails, and even beyond ethics, like just slowing down this insane pace.
All right. I follow you. I follow you. So my next question, Heather, is about, as an artist, when it comes to experimenting with new ideas or exploring something new or a new creative style altogether, could you give us perhaps another example of how AI is assisting you with those kind of things?
Yes. The one really interesting thing about AI is that because of the way it creates, the way it takes vast volumes of knowledge and creates imagery from that, it's a whole different way of creating. It's language based. So for those of us who are very visual, and my old process might have been to sketch it out first, I'm now using language. So that in itself uses a different part of my brain, as well as it's a different way of creating. Um, and I think how can I put this? My conceptual thinking is able to go much, much deeper. And in fact, there's sort of like I almost call it like a surrealistic movement that's emerging out of AI because of the weird ways you can warp history and personalities, famous people in certain situations. It kind of lends itself to a certain art look. So yeah, it's definitely different. Although I have to say, I intentionally challenge myself to try and create work in AI that looks like my previous work, that has my previous personality or signature or training involved in it, so that coming back to the authenticity part, I feel like it's authentically an expression from my brain instead of from the AI brain. So, in general, I think people are going to feel they can be really, really creative in a way that maybe they weren't before. Although I have to say, my good friend Rob Garrett and I were talking about this, and he's a very tactile learner and he hates this language based creation. And it's just very different. So for me, I love it. Some people are going to hate it. So it's going to be interesting to see how we resolve the dissonance that is created between tactile learning and learning through language. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. That brings me to my next question, the legal aspect of things. What are the implications of AI generated content, according to you, in terms of intellectual property rights and copyright laws with motion design industry? And you did highlight quite a bit about your personal thoughts. There is this thin line about things. I spoke to a friend of mine who's an intellectual property lawyer, and I asked her to send me an audio clip. So she did send me an audio clip sharing her perspective on this, and then I'll get an answer from you. I'm going to play the audio clip, guys. I did not get the time to edit the audio, so it's in bits and pieces. So hopefully it makes sense to my listeners.
AI is going to be making motion graphics along with all audio and visual content much easier to produce. This means that we are going to see many, many more people get into this industry. However, the audio visual content and motion graphics that is created with AI completely, and even with AI assistance, only partially created with AI, is not going to be as valuable long term as original content. We may see that the value lies in being able to sell that content. And because AI generated content and AI assisted generated content is not something that you can sell for commercial use at this time, original content is going to be what you must produce in order to monetize. Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm an intellectual property attorney, and I'm really interested in the AI space and glad to be here today.
All right, so that's Anna. I interviewed her about intellectual property, and this is what she had to say. I know it sounds like an AI saying it, but I wanted her to be clear, and I'm so sorry I could not actually edit the whole thing and make it like one audio clip. So shout out to Anna. Thank you so much for that answer. What do you think, Heather? Like, what is your thoughts on what she said?
That is correct. I actually want to share with people. I discovered the other day that there is a workshop coming up um, around copyright. I'm trying to find the exact link here. While I'm looking for it, let's see, where is it going to be? So if you go to, uh, 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 hold on just a minute while I search this. I'll just keep talking. On 6/28, there's going to be a webinar on the registration guidance for works containing AI generated content. You can sign up for this workshop at copyright.gov. I've signed up myself personally. Um, Copyright around AI has been kind of evolving and changing pretty quickly. So I highly recommend attending this workshop if you're going to be creating any kind of visual content. Um, right now, with Midjourney specifically, which is where I kind of work the most, um, you can have what's called a Creative Commons license if you purchase the highest level membership. You cannot copyright any of that imagery, and I think that the breakdown is that it needs to be touched by a human hand, or you need to be able to prove it's been created by a human hand. 80% of the image has to be created or generated by a human in order to be copyrighted. But the problem is that AI has gone through copyrighted work and used that to create the imagery. Therefore, it's not considered human generated, and it's also created off I can't say that word. It's copyrighted. So uh, it's a huge issue. Getty Images, I think they're still in court right now. There are multiple lawsuits around this area. In the EU, if you want to read about what's happening there, go to amnesty.org. They have a whole thing going on around AI. So I think as creative people, it's really important to pay attention to this and to be informed about what's happening. I personally do not want to be sued.
Me too.
I really, really don't want to be sued. So I think that it's important, and I think there was a congressional hearing not too long ago, and that it's looking like they want to put a sort of an FDA style regulatory thing on AI, but I'm not sure how that's going to work yet. So take the workshop, get online, and keep reading about the situation as it evolves. And if you're using AI in your own work, you have to make it your own. So I would recommend creating comps, creating prototypes, and then using that initial direction, bring it into the Adobe suite and create your own work.
That's lovely advice. So I also signed up for the webinar. So just guys, if you're wondering when is the webinar, it's on June 28th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I know you guys might be struggling with the links and all. I was able to find the link while Heather was speaking. I'm very grateful, Heather, you shared this, because I think this is going to help us creative professionals. And I think the general audience should also take advantage of this, because you might have a designer who is helping you with these things. It's good to be educated, right? About stuff. Okay, so
Yeah.
do you think there might be a limitation? Because I think it is by USPTO. So do you think if someone is from another country, do you think there should be a problem in attending this event? I think the event is actually free, right? The webinar?
It's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's free. I don't know. That's a really good question. I do not know the answer. I could just tell you it's free. That I know for sure.
Okay, but anyway, it's free. Try it out. I'm sure you guys would get some answers or insights, which and when it comes to copyright laws and these kind of things, maybe it's slightly different, but it's almost on the same lines. So what I'm gonna do is we would start Q&A shortly. What I want to do is I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, and it will give you enough time so we both can have a little beverage. Sonal, please stay on mute. I will let you know once we start. Yeah, so let's actually let's take a break. Okay, let's relax a bit.
Do you want to find out how your neurology works? Do you want to understand why you do what you do? Then it's really simple. Just check out yourlifeliveit.com, and there you'll find lots of different ways for you to be able to learn more about you, why you do the things you do, and more importantly, how to change those in a really quick, effective way. We call it unthinkable change. The change that you'll experience with neural coding is fast and it lasts. Don't wait anymore. You get 86,400 seconds every day. Once it's gone, it's gone. We are committed and passionate about helping people create unthinkable change in their lives. We've been doing this since 2008 and literally changed over 41,000 problems, deleted them from the neurology, and then installed a solution that works best for the client. Whether you want to work one-on-one or take one of our award-winning neural coding online courses, take action today. The costs of not doing that are just more days wasted. So connect with us. We're here to help. We're here to help you create unthinkable change that's fast and it lasts. It's your life. Live it.
That's Dr. Amanda, my sponsor. I appreciate Dr. Amanda, you helping me with the sponsorship. It does minimize some of the production expenses. Dr. Amanda Fu Rayland is an international speaker. She has around 1.9 million views on her TED Talk. She has spoken over 14 countries. She has been a keynote speaker for over 36 years. And she has impacted more than 3.5 million lives and is also the number one best-selling author. So if you like what you have heard, get recoded, book your discovery call with Dr. Amanda at www.yourlifeliveit.com. If you're struggling with the link, if you don't have a pen or paper handy, do not worry. I do have it listed under the event notes or the show notes. You should be able to find it easily. All right, so let's actually start with Q&As. I want to welcome Wade, Charlene, Leslie, Lisl, and Sonal. Please join back. I didn't mean to push you back down or something. Please come back. I wanted to actually do that sponsor shout out before we start Q&A. So please raise your hand up. I would be able to bring you up. And I see Phyllis. I see Izzy. You guys are welcome. I would love to have you guys on stage and have this conversation with Heather. That would really mean a lot. I see also Cass. Cass Johnson, whom you see down in the audience, we are scheduled to have an interview next week. Shout out to Cass, really amazing individual. Thank you, Phyllis, for introducing me to Cass. I really, really am excited to have a conversation about house rules next week. All right, so let's start with Q&A. So Wade, how are you? Do you have a question or would you like to contribute to this conversation?
Hello there, Jason. Thank you so much. And Heather, it's a pleasure meeting you and listening to the talk today. It's been so insightful. I guess my question is, I've been using chat for a little over a year with a prior employer, but now not with that employer. I don't have my own or account with OpenAI. And so presently, Open isn't allowing individuals to create their own accounts. And what are your suggestions to be able to incorporate these tools into our portfolios?
Okay, so I'm trying to get your question. So to explain what you mean by incorporate into your portfolios, can you give me a couple examples?
Well, yeah, as far as I'm a little frustrated as far as in wanting to be able to open, for example, a OpenAI account, and we're not allowed to. So as far as OpenAI isn't doing it, so what other uh, programs or systems or companies are out there that have similar uh, programs that we can incorporate and get to learn quite well until OpenAI allows individual accounts to start uh, being created.
I would keep your eye on Bing right now. I think that you're going to see some battle of the superpowers between ChatGPT, Bing, probably Google as well. They have their own kind of open AI software. In fact, I feel like there was something released by Google that had, different types of AI training. There will be more and more free options. If you do a quick Google search under like OpenAI, Bing, OpenAI, Google, some options will pop up. And I think you will be able to find a workaround that way. I would start there. And I'm really sorry that you're having that experience. It shouldn't be hard for people to access.
Well, I've been using Bing for I would say probably about 3 months now. But I loved as far as you know, the seamless and the ability to be able to use OpenAI. It was so easy to use. And unfortunately, I didn't have my own account. It was under the corporation's account, so I couldn't transfer that into my own name. So
Hmm. You know, Wade, DM me. I'll do a little bit of some quick research and see if I can figure out a workaround for that. There's got to be a way. There's just got to be a way. And
okay,
I'm excellent at figuring that stuff out. So DM me and we'll talk.
will do. Thank you so much, and all the best.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Wade. Please continue to be on stage. You know the drill. So I want to welcome Charlene. I don't know if I'm going in PTR order or the order of people, how people join. So forgive me for that. So Charlene, do you have a question, or would you like to contribute to this conversation?
Yes, I love this conversation, but I did have a question first. Well, thank you for having this room. And Heather, could you explain a little bit more? I'm not sure if there's more details, but the information about Midjourney's paid users, I guess the ability for the copyright, and would Adobe's offer to cover, because Adobe's offering to reimburse their Firefly users in case they are ever in a copyright lawsuit or anything like that. Would that set precedence to maybe amplify whatever Midjourney might have already in place?
So Midjourney right now they have a what's called a Creative Commons license. That means that you can use the work. It can't be copyrighted though. Creative Commons and copyright are different things. Creative Commons means you or anybody can use this particular work, but let's uh, say you wanted to create a book and you wanted to copyright that information, you wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, I think what Firefly and the whole Adobe suite is doing is very, very smart because it's going to be difficult to get around the copyright issue, and everybody wants to jump into the AI race. So they're going to have to find workarounds while this is sorting itself out. In order to get the Creative Commons license through Midjourney, you have to have I think it's $60 a month membership. If you don't have that, it's not, you don't have those rights. You're basically paying like you would with stock imagery, where you pay a certain amount so that you have different types of licensing. So that's how that works. I think is I think Firefly is still in beta, but I do think that Adobe is on fire and a really big competitor. And I think that move by them is super smart. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does because I kept seeing that they allowed their users to use their creations for commercials. I mean, commercialize that. So that's why I was trying to figure that out, especially as a paid user. Like, okay, where would that fall in? So thank you for that.
Yeah, for Firefly, supposedly the difference between Adobe and Midjourney is they're claiming that Adobe's products, their AI did not train on copyrighted, is that even a word? Material. So they have different legal parameters. I'm waiting for it to get out of the beta stage because I think the fact that they do that, they can claim that is going to give them a lot more flexibility in the future. And we'll just see how this shakes out. But it's a little bit of a battle right now between the different AI powers. So that's kind of where it stands.
Awesome, awesome. So Charlene, do you have a follow-up question you like to ask Heather before we move on?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
Charlene.
Thank you, Charlene. Please continue to be on stage because we have a fun activity shortly that might require everyone to participate. So I want to say hi to I want to say hi to Christine. Thank you so much, Christine, for joining our conversation. Do you have a question or would you like to contribute?
Hi. Good to see you again, Jason. I do love your these get-togethers so much.
Good to see you
I
as
really
well.
love when I can participate and understand some of what is going on. As you know, I'm an artist. I'm a former wedding planner. And I am one that is trying to get a grip on this new AI phenomenon and learn as much as I can, as fast as I can. And one thing I have to say to Heather, I want to say, Heather, I'm familiar with some of your work and the piece you did about hope to doubt. it's phenomenal. I want to tell you I love it. I just want to thank you for doing that piece. A lot of the things that I've done in my business, my work, my past personal life revolves around the word hope and doubt. And anyway, that's a whole different subject. But I just want to let you know that what you did in that piece, it really, to say it spoke to me is just not even touching the edge of the surface of it. But anyway, okay, putting that behind me, um, when I saw you were having Heather on, I knew I had to listen for that alone. But then also, of course, subject matter as well. So I have been trying to get to know this alien called AI, and I've been grasping it and learning it, and trying not to break any of the rules because it has been helping me so much when it comes to doing research and marketing and coming at it from a small business owner perspective. And of course, when you're talking about what it lacks, that is exactly what I have, and what it has is what I lack. I emote empathy. I don't know if you've heard of empath. That's me. Um, the My former motto for my business was we specialize in events that um, that encompass the heart and enlighten the soul. I've changed it since then because I do more than just weddings. But my question is, I'm getting there, and this is it. Um, I never did invest in Adobe. I know, big, big problem for me. I just went the short route, and I have the Canva Pro. And of course, it's using AI as well. And then I do use Bing, and I do have Chat AI. And I don't even want to think about why that gentleman is having trouble with being able to get on um, Chat AI because, Open AI. I never had any problem. I haven't had any trouble getting on it on any of my devices or getting any of the people that have helped me in my business on it. But because then I'm going to start having problems with it if I think about it too hard. So, my question to you, Heather, is do you feel, or not feel, see, feeling, do you think that it would be an appropriate expense for me to write into my budget ASAP to go ahead into this Firefly program and invest in Adobe, or do you think that my having the Canva Pro and working with what I've got as far as AI to this point is going to suffice um, until, say, I don't have an very aggressive growth expectation for my company. I don't need one. Um, but I don't want to fail either because my company is very focused, very niche focused. And if I don't stop talking now, I'll probably go on forever because I'm mangling my words.
I'm
Because
pretty used to it now.
I'm
She does not
still just
stop.
in awe of who I'm speaking with.
All right, all right. So Heather, did you get the question? What are your thoughts on
I
that?
think okay, so I have a question back. So how do you use AI in your business specifically? When are you using it on social media, or how are you engaging?
Yes, I am using it in marketing efforts. I'm using it with ideas, content strategies. When I'm doing research on my competitors, I am looking up, it's helping me as far as are my, competitors doing this? Where are my competitors hitting the most? Their key. I'm doing keyword searches on them differently than what used to be just plain, keyword search. I'm using honestly everything that I've learned in just these cheap, free AI lessons that you can pick up from a lot of these other art, not artists so much as social media um,
I lost
professionals.
track, Heather. Like
I'm
I lost
sorry.
track.
So I think,
They
okay,
help me
so
create marketing tools
right.
and keep track of my competitors to make sure I'm staying competitive
Okay.
locally. If that sums it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Heather,
that
while you
makes
answer it,
sense.
like try to be generic, and if you, Christine, if you want to have like a one-on-one thing with Heather, please
Yeah,
please have an offline conversation so that in depth you can give out details, specifics, and we can work around. We want to be respectful to other people on stage as well. So go ahead, Heather.
that
Okay,
aren't beginner level. I got it.
so Christine, what I would recommend is I would invest in Adobe if you are going to create a lot of photography or visual social content, just because of the way Adobe has structured their legal agreement with their users. It's a little bit safer. And if you create a lot of visual content, which I'm going to assume you do, if you're working with weddings, that there would be a lot of imagery involved. I think it would be beneficial to do that. It's not, it's not. Um, what am I trying to say? It's not fail safe, but I do think that for photography in particular, if you're using a lot of stock imagery, I would think about it. It is not out of beta yet, so it might be a little bit, it all comes with a watermark currently. So I'd wait maybe until it's out of beta to do that. But I do think investing in a company like Adobe, who has proclaimed that they're going to protect creatives in the AI race, would be a safe bet. Does that answer that?
Fantastic. Yes, yes. That helps a lot. So I know where to allocate those dollars and I'll take it out of marketing. That's great. Thank you so much, Heather and Jason. I appreciate you both very much.
You're welcome.
Absolutely nice having you, Christine, again. Please continue to be on stage. We might do something fun. As you know, we have rapid fire questions which will happen shortly. I want to say hi to my next speaker, Lisl Macdonald. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Please unmute. All right. So do you have a question, or would you like to contribute to this conversation?
Hi, Jason. Namaste. I have a question for Heather. And just a couple of points before the question. Heather, I come to this not as a creative. I'm a cuckoo in the nest here. I come from the CMO consultant side. But so I'm coming at it from a different perspective. But here's the idea behind the question. When I started off about 150 years ago, it was incredibly invaluable when you're a client to actually see under the bonnet a little bit of the creative process. So I remember the first time going to watch a radio voiceover being done in the booth, and just the sheer artistry and time and effort that went into getting a radio commercial exactly right between the sound team and the voiceover artist, etc. And it was these kind of things are hugely important to educate clients about time and cost and quality and great creative. What I see with AI now is all clients are hearing is the AI industrial complex telling clients that AI makes things, you can do it yourself, it's quick, it's cheap, and it's chipping away potentially at the margins of some wonderful creatives and the work that they produce. I would like to ask you about if and how the creative industries can educate clients into how to be a good client of creative which has an AI component and involves AI, because if you know what you're buying, you can be a good client. And at the moment, I'm afraid that that creatives' voices are not being heard, and that will put further pressures on the creative industry, and it will be bad outcomes for both sides. How could that be done, do you think?
Hi, Lisl. Oh my
Hi.
God, it's so nice to see you, hear you.
And you?
um, I can't agree more. It's a huge issue. I know the creatives are feeling that feeling pretty disrespected, as if their work and their investment and their time isn't being honored. I do think we need to put some focus and education behind the process. I do think we need to be, as the I'm forgetting his name, the ex Google guy in the video says, we need to be good parents of AI. We need to be the ones who are ushering in the standards and how it's integrated, instead of this fast, quick, cheap kind of thing that's happening, which really devalues the creative process in general. So yes, I think there needs to be a big discussion around this, and I think having chats like this help. Um, I try and speak out as much as I can, and also those creative people who are working with AI. When you meet with your client, setting up kind of rules of engagement, what AI means, what it doesn't mean, how you want to work with somebody, how you don't want to work with somebody, and being really clear about where your boundaries are. People can always go with the cheaper option, but I'm dead serious when I say this. A lot of AI looks the same, and it will not be to your advantage as far as standing out if you do not connect with somebody who knows how to develop concepts, who knows how to communicate to a specific brand, and to use empathy and human connection in the way they work. That is a massive part of the creative process. I, I hope this answers your question. I can't agree with you more.
Thank you. I would love to see it more before certain sort of things take hold in the industry and people start believing things which simply aren't true. And I'd like to thank Philip for introducing me to you, and you for introducing me to Phyllis, and therefore now I get to meet Jason and all the other people on here. It's been rather
Yeah, we
wonderful.
love Phyllis.
I do love Phyllis. Phyllis is amazing.
Yeah, I
Was
wish she
Phillip.
could have joined the stage, but she's not coming. But that's okay. But Lisl, I hope I'm still pronouncing your name right. You have a lovely voice, and I've sent you a connection request. Let's explore. Let's I appreciate you joining the stage and asking that amazing questions. Thank you so much. I know we are a little short on time, so I want to make sure that I reach everyone possible who have joined. I want to say hi to Leslie. So Leslie, do you have a question, or is there anything you like to contribute?
Hi, Jason, and thank you, Heather, for taking the time today to explain and to share what you do. It's really fascinating. Yeah, just as I'm reflecting and just thinking back in the early 90s when my mother and I had an art gallery and a quote unquote web designer came in and said, you can actually advertise and we can create a website for you. And my mother looked at him like he had two heads, thought it was crazy. And to think right now how we are just connecting virtually. My question is, um, I'm always thinking out of the box. So I'm thinking as AI just builds stronger with their engines and their the input and all of the things that they're storing in this big, cyber world of AI. Don't you think eventually it will have more logic and reasoning and more creativity in AI as we are just plugging away and utilizing these tools? And that's my question. Just thinking out of the box, because right now maybe we're playing it safe saying yes. When I create newsletters for my health and wellness lectures and just topics, it's pretty black and white. There's not that personal, like journalistic viewpoint. So, what are your thoughts on that? And thanks.
My thoughts are that AI is going to learn. It's sort of in its how should I say this? Like it's almost a teenager, and its ability to problem solve and integrate information into its own special type of intelligence will increase. So I think the way that we interact with AI, the way that we create, will change radically, quickly. So I agree with you. The what we're doing now is sort of in its infancy compared to what we are going to do. I feel like there were 2 questions in there. Can you ask me if there was a second one if I didn't cover it?
Yeah, that's basically it. It's as the AI is perfecting it and creating its own mind and headspace. It's going to be interesting if we can, as human beings, be able to put a leash on it and be able to keep it so it doesn't get to a point of no return. And I don't. It's going to be just interesting to see how this plays out. So yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
So I'm just going to address this really quickly. One other interesting aspect of this is as AI increases in its IQ, it will surpass, the smartest person on the planet. And I think the smartest person on the planet, their IQ is like 210 or something. They're predicting in a short period of time that AI's IQ will end up being around 1600. We can't predict what that's going to do or what that will feel like or look like. We won't be able to control it because we won't match it in intelligence. So when I talk about being parents, what I'm talking about is the way it's programmed now. And I think the only way to adjust to something with that kind of superior ability is to create another AI that helps kind of rein in any difficult scenarios we see happening because we won't be able to do it. We're not intelligent enough. So we're actually unleashing into the world something that is um, way beyond our ability to understand, which is why there have been so many calls to slow it down. So that's my 2 cents.
That's really fast. We need the AI police. We need another higher intelligence to manage this. So thank you, Heather.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you so much for that, Leslie. I want to say hi to Philip. I see that you're new. I just want to let you know that this conversation is being recorded. Do you have a question, or would you like to contribute to this conversation?
Yeah, Jason, that's correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, spelling was different for me. Hey, Heather and Lisl, everybody else. Sorry. So, just not really a question. I want to contribute something. Um,
I don't know.
I think
Are
that
you
last
guys
point.
hearing? I don't think the audio is. It's
Are you hearing
echo.
me? Okay. Can
It's
you hear me?
echoing. Heather, do you hear the
Okay.
audio being
Okay.
echoed?
Yeah, you've got a little bit of an echo, Philip.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
Are
Let me.
you also using like an audio interface or something? Because that's gonna loop.
Yeah, I was listening on my Bluetooth speaker. I just turned it off. Is that
Oh,
better?
better, 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 better.
Yeah, perfect. Um, I wanted to contribute something. Hopefully, it's valuable. Uh, that last bit, I don't remember if it was Leslie or Heather made it. Regarding the policing. Um, so I'm sure everyone here knows what a WASP is, or why it's called a WASP. But if you don't, I'll just say it. The wasps control bee populations. Um, that's really why they're called a wasp. That's their purpose. And human beings don't have one. I guess in an ironic way, we could be our own wasps. AI is a product of this desire for years between clients and creatives for efficiency, because efficiency is it removes the that cost. I'll give you an example of what efficiency is. A few years ago, there was a national water commission issue on the island that I live in, which is Jamaica, where the workers went on strike, and the entire country for a day was held at ransom essentially because the government wouldn't pay what they wanted. Um, Details of that I don't know, but anyway, point is, things like that is what induces this need for efficiency. Creativity isn't efficient; it's not supposed to be, and once you start solving business problems like that, where it needs to be more efficient, less mistakes, um, you remove that power of the thinking or process. And like the point Blair's made recently about deciding whether it's 80-20. What is 80? What is 20% regarding human and AI? And I think that answer comes from defining your objective as a company regarding business and establishing authority and stuff like that, you have to decide where you want AI to be and where you want the human to be. We cannot compete with AI. And I think acceptance is healing, as I like to say. So we have to accept the power of AI, what it will become. We don't know what that is yet. If you accept that power, then you can be a good parent by dictating the processes or purposes it serves. If you allow it to become a captain, then you lose everything. But in terms of efficiency, I think that's where all this is. The conflict that's happening is between creatives and AI is this incessant need for efficiency. But in my opinion, efficiency can only be useful if solutions are effective. So I focus on effectiveness. I can leverage AI. I do intend to, but I focus on the inside of companies. I guess you could say I help them build their engines, and this ultimately dictates everything that follows, whether it's on their marketing or brands or whatever. Um, at some point, when you build something, you need a way to manage it, and I think AI can help in that area. But you have to build something valuable first, and then use the technology to manage it, if that makes sense. And I think if that happens, then yes, AI can we can become partners, collaborators, or it's our assistant, as opposed to trying to figure out the efficiency side of things in terms of marketing and business. You lose right there, because if you start selling that or pushing that, then the clients is always going to go for that because it's cheaper and it's easier. We have lost the passion or value for process. There's always a process, but you need an objective to have process, and that process used to be trying to help from a human standpoint, help another the client, another human being, on how to run their business better, what is process mapping or something, just to identify that connection with the consumers. The objective is the consumer. And I don't remember who said this, but it's important. From the business side, maybe we need to start thinking about how does AI impact the consumer in a positive way, and less about how it impacts businesses or trying to make things more efficient. Before we do that, what's the end user's experience by implementing AI? Yeah, that's it. I hope that was something useful.
Thanks, Philip. It actually is. I come back again to empathy and human connection. I think we need to be very, very careful um, to not be sort of wooed by the effectiveness and the speed of AI, but remember that if we lose what's human and if we lose the empathy and the connection with each other, we've lost everything. And that's kind of, for me, that's what is supposed to be at the core of business anyway, is the connection, the empathy, the interaction. So I think continuing to emphasize that, the importance of that with this technology is going to be pivotal. I can't agree more.
Awesome. Awesome. Philip, I appreciate you joining the stage. We are a little short on time, but thank you so much for this contribution. Thank you so much for being a part here. I want to say hi to Phyllis. So thank you, Phyllis. Uh, please. Oh, hi. So do you have a
Hey,
question, or
honey.
would you like
I
to
do not
contribute?
have a question. Y'all kept calling my name. So I just came up here to tell you I love all of y'all.
We
All of
miss
y'all are
you.
great and all that good stuff. And this AI stuff is this creative side of AI is beyond me. And I think like watching Heather do what she does and seeing her post and her morning meditations and all that kind of stuff gives me greater appreciation for her artistic abilities, because she has to be able to speak the language in order to be able to create those things. And y'all know I've said it many, many times. I don't do pretty shit. And Vanya will attest to that because he's always trying to fix my shit. But it's amazing what can be done through language that's turned into images. So that's all I want to contribute. Love all of y'all. You, Charlene, Lisl, Cass down there. She's still down there. Love all of y'all. Deuces.
Awesome, awesome. Let's actually do some rapid fire questions. All right, so rapid fire questions. So I am going to be asking a few questions to Heather and one common question for everyone who joined on stage, just to have a little fun before we wrap up this room. So, Heather, related to AI, have you ever had any sort of creative argument or disagreement with an AI? And if yes, how did you win that argument?
Oh, it's hard to win with AI. We did have an argument over hands and fingers a while ago, but the AI worked it out.
Okay, if AI took over the creative industry, okay, what would you do as a career? Okay, so what would be your backup career choice if not creative? Then what else?
Ooh, I think I would go into nature conservation. I think that would be my backup.
Nature. I can't even say
Conservation.
conservation.
Yeah,
What would you do? Like, in
I,
nature
I would.
conservation.
I, I would help to conserve the natural world. I would make sure things weren't going extinct. I would get out there and spread the word about how valuable and important our natural world is. I would be an advocate for the natural world, I think would be my backup.
All right, all right, all right. That's really nice. I appreciate you sharing that. That's really thoughtful. Now picture this: if an AI-powered design studio meets a rebellious robot uprising, what would you do to convince these rogue robots to create a visually stunning animation or AI art instead of taking over the world?
Wow. I think I would just give them a bigger problem. It's kind of like, they say if you see a vampire, you need to throw a bunch of objects at them because they have to stop and count it. I think if you threw a bigger problem at an AI, it would just need to solve it. And then, I would distract them into solving my problem.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. So, one common question for everyone on stage. So, the common question for everyone on stage: if you had an AI assistant for your work, which I think most people do, what would you name it? Like, if you had to give it a name. So, let's start from Phyllis. So, Phyllis, what would you name your AI if you ever were to use it?
I do use Chat GBT, GBT quite. Am I saying B or P? Whatever. I use Chat a lot. Um, I don't know. You know what? Because I try not to personalize it, so that would probably be hard for me. Because I even try not to say, "Well, you. You're not a you. You're an it." So I don't know. Maybe the name we used to call each other when I was younger was Pearl. Say, "Hey, Pearl." So there you go. I call it Pearl.
All right, let's hear from Leslie. So, Leslie, if you had an AI, what would you name it?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question. How about Larry? Larry. Hey,
Pearl,
Larry.
Larry,
I don't
okay.
know. That's not so creative, but you stumped me on that one. Next.
All right, let's hear from Philip. So, Philip, if you had an AI, what would you name it?
That'd be Bob. It's my alter ego. So it's not a high
Bob.
yeah.
All right, all right. Let's hear from Lisl. Lisl, if you had an AI, what would you name it?
Well, I'm Scottish, so I'd have to give it a really Scottish name. So I'd probably call my AI assistant either Donald or Dougal or Shug. It would have to be a really Scottish name.
Lovely. Okay, let's hear from Charlene. So, Charlene, how about you? What would you name your AI?
I would name it Tappy because I would make it tap dance and do the work.
All right, let's hear from Christine. Christine, what would you name your AI?
I would have to name mine after my very first service dog ever. For obvious reasons, I would depend on it way too much, and the name would fit it as well. Pumpkin Spice, not because of the lattes, but because I love pumpkin pie, and spice because it would also get on my nerves a little bit because I don't quite understand it. So, pumpkin spice. There you go.
Pumpkin spice, lovely name. How about you, Wade? I'm sure you have been using AI for quite some time based on the question which you had prompted. So have you named your AI?
Yeah, Sally. Because when we get it all wrong, I call it Silly Sally.
Lovely, lovely. I love that. Okay, let's hear from you, Heather. Have you given your AI a name?
Yeah, I call my AI Hal because I'm referring back to an old sci-fi film.
How? How do you spell?
Hal, Hal.
Hal. Okay, Hal. Okay. Maybe I'm just pronouncing it differently. All right. If I have to answer the same question, I would say Skynet. Because Judgment Day, Terminator, all those things. So I'm gonna call it Skynet just to be cautious. Because if things come loose, if things come crashing down, I am gonna crash and burn this thing for sure. I don't care how intelligent it is. I'm gonna smack the shit out of it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So, anyways, so we have actually reached the end of our show. And if Heather, if you could leave my listeners with one thing they can take away from this conversation, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, I'm going to give you two things because I can't give you just one. One, watch the ex-Google officers speak out on the dangers of AI. Please, 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 super important. And two, I would say that great power doesn't need to be feared, but we do need to approach it with consideration and thoughtfulness, not only for what it's going to do to the creative industry, but to the world in general. It's important to have not only the macro, but the micro perspective at the same time. So that would be my last thought.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. Now, would you mind sharing a bit about your company? Uh, Again, I forgot the name.
It's Cremonti.
Cremonti. And I saw
Yes.
Phyllis also struggling with the name. I know on her interview she also struggled with the name. It's not easy. It's
But I
unique.
can say it near from Monty.
Cremonti. So again, guys, the website is cremonti.com, just in case if you're wondering.
Yes.
For easy access, I have mentioned this on the show notes as well as on the event notes. Click on the three dots, view event details. If you're on LinkedIn, you should be able to find my guest website and other social handles. So, what would you like to promote on my show? How can you benefit and help my listeners?
Okay, I will promote two things. I am just starting to open up one-on-one tutorials in Midjourney. If you're interested, you can DM me. It will be on my site, and in about 2 weeks, I'll have a Calendarly link up there. And the second thing is I also work on the programming committee for the Bend Design Conference, and we have an amazing lineup coming up October 26th through the 27th. And one of the speakers is going to be Pedro Ruiz of Iterate Labs. And he is going to give a talk on generative artificial intelligence, the revolution, how different diffusion models and pre-trained transformers are shaping the future of creative expression. It's going to be an amazing talk. If you're interested in AI and you're in Oregon or planning to be here, I wouldn't miss it. So those are my promos.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. I want to quickly let you know what's going to happen next week. Next week, season 4, episode 11. This is going to be scheduled on June 21st, 2023 at noon Eastern Standard Time. We will be speaking about why you need house rules in business with Cass Johnson, whom you see down in the audience. Please follow her. And we would be delving into the world of corporate structure, ethics. She's an ethical strategist. Very interesting topic. We will be speaking about procedures, stuff like that. Okay, I'm kind of new to this whole thing, so I'm really excited what I'm going to ask her as questions. So let's see how that thing unfolds next week. But I'm really excited. So I wanted to say, thanks to all the 21 listeners listening to us patiently. I sincerely appreciate it. Without your love, and support, I don't think I would have made this far. My podcast, although I finished the 100th episode and I would be finishing this recording soon, trust me guys, this is not easy. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. So just in case, if you guys ever were to think of doing podcasts, do reach out to me. At least I'll give you some guidance on how to go about it. I want to thank Heather personally. She's an amazing individual. Her motion design is really cool. If you are an entrepreneur, if you want to get into motion design, have something created, please reach out to Heather. I would strongly recommend you take advantage of her creative skills. You guys take care of yourself. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're in the world.
Thanks, Jason.